All right, well, right now we have a special guest from the Busan International Short Film Festival. His latest film, The Sound of Dreaming, is nominated in the international competition, and the winning film is actually going to get nominated possibly for an Academy Award. So this is a pretty big deal. Let's welcome Kalani Gacon to the show. How are you doing today?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for coming on. As we get started, can you introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners?
Yes, name's Kalani. I come from a small town called Kathmandu in Australia, but I've lived the last few years of my life in Nepal, where I've made this film, The Sound of Dreaming.
Oh, and it seems like you've been traveling around the world, many different places. Is this your first time in Busan?
Yes, I just arrived in your city a few hours ago, and it was very difficult to find my way here. That's why I was very late.
You know, it can be a little bit difficult for the first time. Have you been to Korea before?
This is my first moments in Korea.
What do you think so far? How do you like the weather? What is your impression of the country?
There's many things to say about this. I guess to keep it to the point, when I'm in Korea, it feels like I've landed in a different universe.
Oh.
And it might take me a number of lifetimes to understand that universe.
I definitely can see that. You know, I've actually, you said you came before from Australia. Were you living there, or were you in Nepal before that?
Australia is my birth country, and I was living there recently.
Okay. Now, speaking about your career, you worked at the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and then got into the film industry. Were there any reasons why you wanted to change careers and become a filmmaker?
You know, the mission from the beginning was always to be a filmmaker. I didn't really have that much of an interest in working in the film industry the moment I realized what it was about. But I've still worked in the film industry and will in the future more, because there's so much I have to learn from that machine that produces things and the experts there. But since I was a kid, I was 9 years old when I first picked up a camera and decided to make films. Since that time, the mission was always to be a filmmaker, and working in the film industry was just a means to support that.
Oh, okay. So, you were in the industry in Australia, also in Canada.
Yeah.
I think I read you're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
But eventually you made your way to Nepal, and you spent 6 years. You produced 2 award-winning films. What made you stay there longer? What was, I guess, the inspiration from that country?
Nepal is a really incredible part of the planet. And, when I was in Nepal, I felt like I'd been there before. Maybe not in this life, but in some time in my past. And a series of events in Nepal led me to just make a life there. Of course, I didn't go there to make a life, but it happened moment by moment through a series of chance. I arrived at the time of a big earthquake in 2015, and 6 years went by, and I woke up and it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very lucky to meet a number of filmmakers in Nepal that supported my journey there, and making films in Nepal was just the most beautiful thing I could imagine doing with my time, and very glad I could make those films there, with more films to come.
Well, I hope there's more films to come. Nepal is a very special place. And, because of that, you were making films kind of about the Nepalese people. And then also you have this film, The Sound of Dreaming, which is nominated in the international competition. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the film itself?
The Sound of Dreaming is a story of 2 soulmates who meet in different lifetimes, over and over again. But in each lifetime, something's always pulling them apart. Something's always stopping them from being together in the same life. So it's a story of how 2 soulmates can be meant for each other, but not meant to be together.
Oh, okay. And, actually in the process of making this film, when you were in Nepal, what were some of the challenges that you faced, not only making it, but also being a foreigner and then making a film in Nepal?
It's an amazing question. I think I could write a book on this to give the proper answer. But I don't feel like I'm going to write that book yet, because I'm still processing it. So a few weeks before the shoot, I was actually put into jail accused of being a spy. I was caught shooting a documentary, a different project I was following at the time, and I was mixed up in some political business in Nepal and accused of being a spy by nature of having a camera on my person. And was then put into jail, so I thought, okay, here I am in prison. I don't think I'm going to be able to make this film anymore. It was looking pretty grim. But actually, while I was in prison, I had a chance to talk about the script with my cellmates. And I actually found the missing pieces of the puzzle of the story through workshopping the script with my cellmates in prison. So there was a few things that made this quite difficult. Also, being a foreigner, of course, there's other nuanced issues and complexities. But, I have learnt language pretty well. I speak Nepalese about as good as I speak English. And my team were phenomenal. And they helped me navigate all the problems I could have had if I didn't have them.
And, this is, like I said, the second film. You made a bunch of different projects in Nepal. Were you inspired by some Nepalese films, or do you have other inspirations as far as, filmmakers and previous films that you lean to? Right off the top, I didn't get a chance to see this because it's coming out very soon.
Yes, but will tomorrow.
Yeah, but I'm very curious about the fact that, it sounds like it could have to do with something like Uncle Boomy Dreams of Past Lives or some, other kind of influences. What were some of the influences that you felt when you were making this?
You mean this particular project?
Yes, this particular one.
Yeah, great question. Abbas Kiarostami is always in my heart. Whenever I make a film. And a bit of Werner Herzog too, although this film is not at all reminiscent of his work. He's always in my heart when I'm making films. As is some of the great Korean directors, Kim Ki-duk. Controversial man, but his films are fantastic. So these are films I would rewatch and revisit before being on set, before rewriting scripts, just to be in the right state of mind and remember the beauty of cinema.
So this film, you mentioned Kim Ki-duk and thinking about other Korean works. Do you think this is a meditative film? Would you put it more of an action film?
Yeah.
It seems like it almost could be a romance film, the way you describe Soulmates.
Yeah, there's elements of romance, although it's definitely not a romance film by any means. More elements of love and transient moments of infatuation. It's definitely falling into the more meditative drama category.
Okay. Yeah. And, I'm curious as far as this film goes, besides this festival, what are your future plans? Are you going to still make films in Nepal? Are you looking other places in the world to shoot? What's coming up for you?
I really can't imagine my life without thinking of making films in Nepal. It just feels like the right thing for me to be doing. So at the end of the year, I'll be going back to start developing a feature film, a zombie drama set in Kathmandu.
Is there any reason why you seem to be jumping genres? You did documentary kind of, and then into this film, and then now you're doing a feature on zombies. What makes you kind of jump around?
I think for me, as a storyteller, the genre is sort of secondary to the story. And the genre can help serve the story, but ultimately the story is key. And so with this latest zombie film, it's like having a menu. I want to try all the food there is out there. I don't want to be stuck eating plain rice all the time. I want spice.
And I think you're going to get it, especially with a rich background like Kathmandu. Specifically, you're in the city, but do you ever plan to go outside of it and explore other areas of the country?
Absolutely. The landscape outside Kathmandu is probably the most beautiful in the planet. So the zombie film will take place in the Himalayan region. This telling the story of trekkers who returned back from a trek in the Himalayas to Kathmandu, now finding the city deserted.
That looks like it's going to be very awesome. I can't wait to see that one. In the meantime, though, I do want to check out The Sound of Dreaming. I think that overall, this is going to be one of those films that kind of stays with you. I was really thinking, kind of reading the description about it. Not only is it kind of meditative, but also I think it's one of those films that, for me, it's the kind that you will kind of maybe come up, I think, even in your dreams, if possible. I actually heard a very very interesting interview about filmmakers who talk about, kind of transcending film and then really embodying it in their lives. Is that some goal that you kind of want to have with your filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a goal. It's just inevitable with me and the intimacy I have with my work. With this particular project, I was sort of... When the idea first came to me, it was like it wasn't my own. It was given to me. I don't know how. It was in my hand, and I had to write it down. And I was stuck with my pen and paper for 24 hours, getting it down on paper. And I just got out of this trance, and boom. Wow, the story was there. And then I had this story, and I thought, okay, there's something here. I've been brought to tell this story. It has to happen.
I hope that this goes very well for you. Again, your film is going to be released on the 2nd of May, so our listeners can go and check it out then. Is there anything that you maybe want to leave our listeners with, some parting words about the film itself or just in general?
Yes, well, I guess I'll give something about the film. This is a bit of a unique experimentation on form we're going through with this film. We have 3 timelines, past, present, future, as well as dream sequences, which could be also past life memories, depending upon how you want to interpret it. So we've tried to rewrite how a narrative can be structured for this piece to play on structure and to see how that can accentuate the powerful pieces of a story. And regarding some final words, thank you so much for having me in Korea, in your beautiful land, your confusing land of spicy food.
Yeah.
And beautiful people. And it's been a pleasure to be here with you, Eric. I hope you'll have a beautiful life and some good food in your belly today.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you have a good result from this festival. Yes. I'll see you over at the theater.
Thank you. Yes, please do come.